Hello everyone, I'm Frank and welcome to Frank Puzzles, and this is today's challenging level puzzle, and it's called Dutch Flatmates Full Rank by Good City. And here are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, which means place the digits 1 through 9 once each in every row, column, and box. Dutch flats. All fives in the grid must have a 1 directly above it, or a 9 directly below it. It may have both, but it doesn't need both. So say, for example, this were a 5. It would have to have a 1 above it, or a 9 below it, or both, but it doesn't it doesn't have to have both. It just has to have at least one of these to occur. And that's Dutch flats. Full rank. A total of 36 9-digit numbers can be read in the rows and columns, each viewed from both directions. If these are sorted in ascending order, the numbers outside the grid indicate the position in this sorting at which the 9-digit number seen from the respective direction is located. Okay, let me say that again. If these are sorted in ascending order, the numbers outside the grid indicate the position in this sorting at which the 9-digit number seen from the respective direction is located. So basically, again, there are 36 9-digit numbers that can be read in the rows and columns. So you can read it from this way. So this is a 9-digit number this way, but you can also read it from this way, right? This is also a 9-digit number reading from right to left. And then you can also read from top to bottom and bottom to top. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., right? There's 2 for every row because you read it left to right and you also read it right to left. And then there's 9 rows, right? So that's 18 for each row. And then you can read it from top to bottom or bottom to top. So that's 2 for each direction, each column. And so an example of reading it this way. So say this was like, well, let's just, okay, 3 doesn't, no. We have 3, 5, 9, 2, 4, 6, 7, 2, 8, and 1. Right? You can read it from this way, from left to right, which would make this 359,467,281. And that would be the 9-digit number if you read it from left to right. But if you read it from right to left, that would be 182,764,953. And that would be the value of the row 2 read from right to left. So, and then you can do the same for every other row, and then you can also do it from top to bottom or bottom to top. And if you order the rows by the largest, or sorry, from the smallest to the largest, the first row is the smallest row. The second row, this row, would be essentially the second smallest row. The third, a number signified by 3 would indicate that's the third smallest row, etc., etc. And then you go all the way up to 36, where 36 must be the largest 9-digit number that's created. From any of this, from looking at the number in any of these ways. So that's all the rules. If you'd like to play along, there's going to be a link in the description. And now I'm going to get started. Let's go. Okay, so for each number, we know in every row and every column, there's a digits, again, 1 through 9, right? So you're going to have a certain amount of digits that start with 1, a certain amount of digits that start with 2, a certain amount of digits that start with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And because there's 36 digits, and each one has to be essentially, you have 1 through 9 in every row and column. That means you're going to have every one basically have 4 numbers that start with it. Every 2 have 4 numbers that start with it. Every 3 that has 4 numbers start with it, etc., etc., all the way up to 36. So you can divide the 36 numbers into sets of 4. So 1 through 4 must have a 1 that starts with it. 5 through 8 must have a 2 that starts with it. 6 through no 9 through 12 must have a 3 that starts with it, etc., etc. So basically, if you take the number 36 and you divide by 4, and then you add sorry, not take the you take the floor. Well, no, you take the ceiling of that division. That division. So take example 1 through 4. You divide by 4, and then you take the ceiling of that number. So basically, instead of, if you take 1 divided by 4, the ceiling of that number is 1, right? 1 divided by 4 equals 1/4. But then you basically raise it to the next highest digit, essentially. And that means that it would be essentially 1, right? So that means if you take the rank it has and you divide it, and then you take the ceiling of that, that's the number that 9-digit rank starts with. So we know 2, if you divide it by 4 and you take the ceiling of it, it's 1. So therefore, there must be a 1 in the first digit that it sees. So it's the second, this must be start with a 1, right? And if you take 5 through 8, you know that if you divide by 4 and you take the ceiling of that, it's 2. So therefore, the digit that it must start with is a 2. So this goes this way and starts with a 2. This goes this way and starts with the 2. So similarly, we can go all the way through all the different sets of 4. So there's no set from 8 through 12. So therefore, we don't know where any of the 3s are. 13 through 16, if you divide by 4 and take the ceiling, it's a 4. So therefore, this must be a 4. This must be a 4 because it goes that way, and this must be a 4 because it goes that way. 17 through 20 must be a 5, so this has to be 5, this has to be 5, this has to be 5, and this has to be 5. Let's see, we have 21 through 24 must be a 6, so this has to be 6. 25 through 28 is a 7, so this is a 7. 29 through 32 is an 8, so this must be 8, and this must be 8. And 33 through 36 must be a 9. Now again, 5s must have a 1 above it or a 9 below it. This 5 cannot have a 1 above it, so it must have a 9 below it. So that must be a 9. This 5 cannot have a 9 below it, so it must have a 1 above it. This 5 cannot have a 9 below it, so it must have a 1 above it. This 5 cannot have a 1 above it, it must have a 9 below it. So in addition to that, we know that the 17th digit, or the 17th number, must be smaller than the 18th number, which must be smaller than the 19th number, which must be smaller than the 20th number. Well, since we know the 18th number must start with 501, which would be 500 and 19 at most million, the 17th number must start with a 5, and then it must also start with a 1, because that's the only way it can be lower, because you can't have 5 0, and you must start with a 5, right? Because it's like 17 divided by 4, if you take the ceiling of that, is 5. So therefore, this must also be 5 1. Similarly, for the 20th digit, it must be greater than the 19th digit, which starts with a 5 9, so it's 590 something million, which means that the 20th digit must start with 5 and 9, because that's 500 not must be greater than the 19th digit. And let's see, do we have anything else? We know that whatever the 18th digit is here, it must be greater than or equal to the same digit here. But that's all we kind of know. Let's look at 5s. Where is the 5 in column 8? It has to be one of these two cells, right? If it's this cell, but the problem is there's already a 9 in that cell. So, or 9 in the column. So 5 cannot have a 9 below it. 5 must have a 1 above it. And if this were a 5, it would not be able to have a 1 above it because we have a 1 in this column, or this row. So therefore this cannot be the 5, which makes this the 5, which makes that 1. Now where is the 5 in other places? The 5 cannot, or the 5 has to be one of these two cells in row 4. The 1 can be above it, but the 9 can never be below it. So therefore the 1 has to specifically be above this 5, because the 9 cannot be below it. Whereas a 5 in box 7, it has to be one of these 4. But the 5 can never have the 9 below it. Therefore, it must have the 1 above it. And the 1, that 5 can have the 1 above it. That 5 cannot. This 5 cannot have the 1 above it. And this 5 could. So therefore, this can't be a 5. So again, it can't have the 9 below it, because the 9 is already in box 7. We already have a 9 in box 7. Where's the 5 in box 8? It has to be one of these 4 to start with. But these 5s cannot have a 1 above it, but they could have a 9 below it. And these 5s could have a 1 above it. Actually, where's the 1s? Where's the 1 in box 7? It has to be here, right? Cannot be any of these, can't be these, can't be these, can't be the 8, obviously, so that must be here. So this is a 1. So these 5s cannot have a 1 above it, because the 1 here prevents that from happening, and it cannot have a 9 below it, because this 9 prevents it from happening. Therefore, these are not possible. The 5 must be one of these two, in which case the 1 can never be above it, but the 9 can always be below it. So therefore the 9 has to be below that 5. So this can never be 5, which means this has to be the 5. So we now have the 5s in row, or column 1 and column 3. Where is the 5 in column 2? It has to be here then, which means this has to be a 9, because it has to have a 9 below it. Okay, so we know that 13 cannot start with 4 and 1. The 16 could be 4 and 9, though. So that's possible. Where are the 9s, actually? This must be a 9. But we know this 9 must be greater than this 9, right? And then it must be also greater than this 9. Where are the 9s? We know the 9's here. Where is the 9 in box 4? It must be one of these two. And the 9's in box 5 must be one of these two or these two. Okay. This is the second largest one. So this number 5 is less than this number, which is 259 million at least. So it must be less than 259 million. It cannot have a 1. It cannot have a 2, 4, 5. So therefore it must be 3, and to be 238 million, which is less than 259 million. Because if it's 6, it's 268 million, which is greater than 259 million, but it's supposed to be smaller again. So therefore this must be a 3, which means the rest of the row must be 1, 6, or 7. So this is 1, 6, or 7. This is 1, 6, or 7. And this must be 6 or 7. This is the largest digit. So if you go 9, 6, or 9, 7, 965 million or 975 million. That means all the other digits that start with 9, so this must be less than 980 million at least, right? So it cannot have an 8. It must be 7 or 6. This could be 7 or 6. Actually, what's the rest of this cell? It must be 4, 6, and 7, and obviously this can't be 4. This digit is greater than this, this number is greater than this number, right? And this number is 851 million, so this must be greater than 5. It can't be 7, it can't be 9, so it must be at least 6. So this is 967 million. This is a 2 or 3. This is a 2 or 3. Okay, this can't be a 6. Let's see, we have 2, we have 5 and 6. We have 13, 15, and 16, but we don't have any numbers associated with that. We have 17, which is 17, 18, 19, 20, 23, 30 to 32. Okay, so then let's just figure out some Sudoku. So this could be 3, 6, or 7. This is 3, 6, or 7, and this is 3, 6, or 7. Obviously, it can't be 6 or 7 because of the 6, 7 already in box 3, so this must be a 3. Which means this can't be a 3, and this can't be a 3. Okay. Where are the 1s? There's a 1 here. There's a 1 in one of these two cells. There's a 1 in this cell. And this must be a 1 also. So what are the possibilities for these cells? It must be 3, 4, 7, and 8. 3, 4, 7, and 8. These are 3, 4, 7, and 8. Therefore, this number must be greater than this number, because this is 120-something thousand, and this can be at minimum 130-something thousand. This can't be a 7. We don't know about this one. So this could be smaller or it could be larger. Okay. So the rest of this column must be 2, 4, 6, 7, or 8. And this must be 2, 4, 6, 7, or 8. But this can't be a 4 here because of this 4. Okay. So, what is this? This cannot be 1. It could be 2 or 3. It can't be 4, 5, 6. It could be 7 or 8. Cannot be 9, though. What about, we're filling in all the digits for the full rank. That are the next digits. So this could be, cannot be 1, 2, 3. Could be 4. Cannot be 5. Cannot be 6. Could be 7. It could be 8. Also, right, where is the 8 in column 1? It has to be one of these two because it cannot be here. Sorry, box 1. It has to be one of those two because it can't be this one. Therefore, the 8 must be one of these two, which means this can never be 8. This is 4, 7, or 8. So the 6 has to be one of those two, right? What about this digit? It cannot be 1, it cannot be 4 or 5, but it could be 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, or 9. Okay. Interesting. So this digit, this number, is always smaller than this one. So this has to be the 4th or 3rd digit. This number could be smaller than this one. So this could be the 1st, 3rd, or 4th digit. And we don't know about these. These could also be smaller. This is the largest digit. This is the largest number that starts with an 8, right? Because it's the 32nd one. The 33rd one must start with a 9. So therefore, this is 867 million is the largest number that can start with an 8. So if the 8 were here, this would have to be 890 something million, which would be greater than this 867 million. And that's not possible. So therefore, this can't be an 8. This can't be an 8. Therefore, this is an 8, which means this can't be an 8. Because it must be smaller than this, right? We know this is the 30th. And where is the last 8? This is 839 million. So therefore, this is the 29th in size. This must be the 30th, and this must be the 31st. So this must be greater than 851 million, which it is, because it has to be at least 3. So this is at least 3 or 4. It cannot be 5. It could be 7. Well, no. Yeah, it could be 7. So it could be 857 million. And that's fine. This is 2 or 4, and this is 2 or 4. Which means the rest, we have a 2, 4, 2, 4 pair in column 7. So the rest of the column cannot contain 2 or 4. It could be then 3, 6, 7, or 8. This can't be 6. This is the 20th digit, which is greater than the 19th digit. If this were a 1, that would mean this could not be 1. So this could not be a 5 because the 5 needs to have a 1 above it. So therefore, this would be 5 and 1. And this would then be 5 and 9. Oh, interesting. So say this was a 9 here, right? If you had a 9 here, that means 9 could never be one of these two. So 9 would have to be here. Therefore, 5 would have to be here, which means this could not be 5. But then that would force that to be a 5 then, which is not possible. So again, if this is 9, that eliminates 9 from the rest of the column. It also eliminates 9 from the rest of the box. So therefore, this would have to be the 9. And the 5 would have to be directly above it because the 5 needs a 1 above it or a 9 below it. And it can never have a 1 above it for these 5s. So therefore, this must be 5. But the problem is that then that makes that 5 not possible. So then this would also have to be a 5, which is not possible. So that can't be a 9. Same with this one. If this one's a 9, that eliminates 9 from the column and 9 from the boxes. So where's the 9 in column 4? It must be here then. But that 9 must have a 5 directly above it because, again, 1 cannot be above the 5. So 9 has to be below the 5 to fulfill the Dutch flats rule. Therefore, 5 can't be in the rest of the column, which forces this to be the 5 in box 5, but that's not possible because we already have a 9 there. Therefore, none of these cells can be a 9, which means these two cells, one of these two cells must be a 9. So this can't be a 9. This has to be a 9. And this must be 2, 3, 4, or 7. Okay. What else do we have here? This must be 2, 3, 4, 6, and no 7. So where is the 7 in box 1? It has to be one of these two cells, which eliminates 7 from the rest of the cells in the column. So therefore, that can't be 7. We also know there couldn't be a 6, so that's fine. The 7 has to be one of these 3. Okay. We know we need a 100 million number that starts with a 2. Because you can never have 1, 1, obviously. And you can't have 1, 0, obviously. So if to get a number smaller than 1, 2, you need another 1, 2 number. So if this were the 1, 2 number, that would mean this would have to be a 3, because you have to have 1 here, then 2 here, right? Or 1 here and 2 here. If this is a number 1 and this is 2, this would have to be 3. And therefore this would be 2. So they both could be, essentially. This can't be a 6 because of that 6. This is 2, 3. This must be 2, 5. If this were 2, it could be 3, that's fine. And that would be 2 and 6, and that's fine also. What other possibilities do we have? This is 6, 4, or 6, 7, or 6, 8. We have a 6, 1 here, so that's smaller. This could be 6, but this could be bigger and smaller. Or one of these could be 6, and that would be bigger or smaller. This could be bigger or small. Okay, so 6 is not helpful. What about all the 8s? Again, all the 8s are done, right? This is 85 something. This is 851 million. This is 867 million. And where's the last 8? Oh, this is 839 million. So this is, yeah, the 8s are all done. What about the 9s? This has to be the largest. So this is either 967 or it's 975. This could be 961 or 971. This is 924, so that's smaller than this. And where's the last 9? It has to be 92 something here. And so that's fine too. Again, we've done all the 8s. The 7s. Too many 7s. Possibilities. What about 6s? Well, this 7 is the third largest 7, because it's 27. There has to be a 28th one. And this is 7, 5. If this were 7, it would have to be 7, 4 at most. If this were 7, it would also be 7, 4 at most, because this is 2, 3, 4, or 7. If this is 7, it has to be 7. It could be 7, 4 or 7, 6, so that's fine. If this is 7, it could be 7, 8 even, or 7, 9, so that's fine. And if this is 7, it could be 7, 6 or 7, 8, so that could be the higher. And that would be fine. Okay, so 7s don't help us. 6s don't really help us either. We have 6, 1, which is less than that, so therefore this area has 1 less in it, but we could have 1 less and 1 higher. The 5s we're already done with, right? This is 5, 1, and this is 5, 1, and this number is smaller than this one, which is smaller than this 5, 9, which is smaller than this 5, 9. So that's done. This 4 has to be the smallest 4, because it's the 13th number, and we have 14, 15, 16 still greater than it. So this is 4, 2, 3, or 7. This is 4, 2, 6, 7, or 8, and it has to be greater than this 4. So say this was 4, 2. Then this would have to be 4, 2, which is possible. What about this 4? This can never be 4, 9, because if it's 4, 9, well, this could be 4, 9, right? Okay, so this could be 4, 9, as long as this one's higher. This is at most 4, 9, 6, so that's possible. Okay, so those 4s, If this is a 4, it's 4, 7 at least. Okay, where's the 4 in column 1? If this is 4, that means this would be 490 something million, right? Which means that would have to be 490 something million and be the largest. Oh, but that's not possible. If this is 490 something million, both of these, this one would have to be 490 something million, and this would have to be 490 something million, because they're both greater than this 4, because this would be the 14th largest number, and this would have to be the 15th largest number. So, but that can't be the case. So therefore, this can't be a 4. This must be a 3, which means this can't be a 3. These can't be 3. We can't have a 2 here. We have a 4, 6, 7 triplet in column 3. So this can't be 4 then. We have a 2, 3 pair now in box 4. Okay. So again, if this is 4, it must be with a 7. If this is 4, it must be with a 6 at least. Right? If this is 4, it must be with a 7. If this is 4, it must be with a 6. So therefore, these must be 6 or greater, because they have to be greater than the smallest number here, one of these. So therefore, this cannot be 2 or 3. This can't be 2. Therefore, we know in box 9, where is the 2? It has to be one of these 2 cells. Therefore, in the rest of the row, there cannot be a 2, which means there is no 2 here. The 2 has to be one of these 3 cells, which means whichever one is here, it must be greater than 1 and 2, right? 120 something million. It has to be at least 130 million. Therefore, it's greater than the second highest number. And this is already greater than the second highest number. Therefore, this must be a 2. So this must be 1, 2, which means this can't be 2. This must be 3, which makes this a 2. So this cannot be a 2. This can't be a 2. This can't be a 3, so therefore this is a 2, which makes that a 3. And again, these can't be 3. So now we have a 6, 7, 8 triplet in both column 7 and box 6. So the rest of the box cannot contain 6, 7, or 8, so therefore this is a 4. And the rest of the column cannot contain 6, 7, or 8, so this must be a 3. Okay. Where then is the 3 in? So this has to be 1, 2. It cannot contain a 6, so it's at least 1, 2, 7. But this is the lowest number, again, because this can never be lower. And this can never be lower than this one. And this is the second lowest number. So this must be a 7, which means this has to be a 7. And this is 7, 4. So this must be 7, 3 to be lower. Actually, I guess it could be 4 also. So this could be 3 or 4 to be lower. This is a 6. We don't know about these. So this has to be, this can't be 7 anymore. So this is 3, 4, 5, or 8. Obviously, 4 cannot be either of these. So it's 3, 5, or 8. And again, this 127 number must be smaller than this 127 number. It could be 4, as long as this is 3 or 5. And it has to be 3 or 5. So that 4 actually does work. This can't be 7 anymore, so this is a 6-8 pair. This is the 20th largest number, so it's 5, 9, 6, or 8. This has to be smaller than that, but it could still be 8 just fine. It cannot be 1. It cannot be, it could be 2. No, it could be 2. 2, 4, 6, or 8. So now we have the smallest number, the second smallest number. The third would be either here or this one. We don't know. And then the fourth would be the other one. The fifth is this one, so it's 2, 3, 8. The sixth can be, it has to be this one. Aha! So since this is the sixth largest number, this has to be at least the seventh, which means this is greater than this number. So this cannot be a 4 then. This has to be 2, 7. So therefore, this is the 4. So that makes this a 6 and this a 4. Therefore, this can't be 6 and this can't be 7 here. This could be 6 or 8. We don't know which. This could be 3, 6, 8, or 9. And this could be 3, 6, or 8. So this is larger than this, which works. This can't be a 4 anymore, so this must be 4, 8, which makes that a 7. So for the 4s, that means this must be a 4. Which means this can't be 8, because the 4 in the row can only be here now. This is 3 or 5, which is smaller than 6. So this 127,450,000 at most number has to be smaller than 127,460,000. Okay. Therefore, this must be 473, and it must be smaller than this number, and this number. So this can never be a 6. This has to be at least 480,000, because it can't be 460,000, because that would be less than this 473 million. Sorry, 473 million. This could also be 473 million. What is this then? This has to be 1, 2, 6, or 8. That seems fine. These have to be 2, 5, 7, and 8. And this can't be 5. Okay. So if this were an 8, actually that works fine. Because it just has to be greater than this, right? Okay. Okay, this can't be 4 or 6, right? Oh, where is this? Yeah, so this is a 7, which forces this to be 4, which makes that a 6. So this can't be 4. This can't be 4 anymore. This must be a 2. This must be a 4. So 2 and 4 cannot be here. So this is a 3-7 pair, which forces this to be 1, 2, or 8. And either way works right now for this. The 3s we don't know we don't have any information about. The 4s again. This could still be 7 or 8. It's fine. If this is 2, this would, well, this still could be 1 even. So this still could be 7 then, if that's the case. This can't be a 6 because of this 6. This is the 19th largest digit. But, yeah, this has to be the 20th. We have 513, and this is 512, so this is definitely greater than this. If this is 598, this also has to be 598. So that's fine. This is 2, 6, or 8. That's fine. What about the 4s? The 4s are all done. 5s, not all done, right? The 6s are not all done. So again, this is the 23rd largest, and it must be 6, 8, 9. Where's the 24th largest? This cannot be it, because this is smaller. It's 612. This cannot be the largest. It's 637, 67 at most. So this is the 22nd then. This would be the 21st. This would be the 22nd largest. This would be 23rd. The 24th largest must be one of these. And if it's this one, it would be 6, 8, and 7 at most, which is not larger than the 6, 8, and 9. So this cannot be 6, which forces this to be 7, which makes that 8, and therefore this is 6. This cannot be 7, and this cannot be 7. We need to have a 6, 8, and again, it cannot be 6, 8, 9 in either of these cells, because if this is 6 and this is 8, where's a 9? The 9 has to be one of these two cells. So therefore, it must be 6 and 9 to be greater than 689, 689 million. Therefore, this must be 6, which must be followed by a 9. Therefore, that makes that 8. This has to be larger than this, so 480 cannot be 2. It has to be at least 5, but the 5 can't be there, right? If the 5 is here, it can never have a 1 above it or a 9 below it. So this cannot be 5. It can't be 8. This must be 7, which makes this the 5. This can't be 5, so this must be 3. This must be 5. The 5 must have either a 9 below it, which it can't, or a 1 above it. So this must be 1, which means this can't be 1. This has to be the 1 then. This can't be 6 or 8, so this must be 3, which makes that a 2. This can't be 2, so this must be 8, which makes that a 2. This can't be 1, 2, or 8, so this is 6, which makes that an 8. So this is 598,400,000. And this is 598,600,000, so that works. So this cannot be 6 or 8. This can't be 8, this can't be 1, so that must be 2, which makes that a 1. This can't be a 9 anymore. That forces this to be 9. This has to be 6, and now we're just doing Sudoku to finish it out. That's a 3, this is a 7. This must be a 7, and that's an 8. And that's a solution. Yeah, fairly simple. You just have to know the rankings, right? And basically understand that you take the ceiling of the ranking divided by 4, and you should be able to essentially follow from that. And it combines very well with the Dutch flats to make this, pretty nice solve. Let's just check again. Where's the smallest number? It's 1274. So 127,450,000, which is less than 127,465,000, which is less than 132 million, which is less than 183 million, which is less than 238 million, which is less than 259 million, which is less than 261 million, which is less than 279. The 3s don't matter because there's no ordering there. The 472 million, is less than 473 million, which is less than 483 million here, which is less than 487 million. So that works. Which is less than 512 million, which is less than 513 million, which is less than 598,460,000, which is less than 598,600,000. Sixes. We have 612 million. And we have 631 million, which is less than 689 million, which is less than 695 million. So now we have 7s. We have 745 million, which is less than 746 million, which is less than 754 million, which is less than 768 million. And now the 8s. We have 839 million, which is less than 851 million, which is less than 854 million, which is less than 867 million. And then the 9s. We have 924,300,000, and not, which is less than 924,700,000, which is less than 961 million, which is less than 975 million. 146,832. And we just checked them all, so pretty good. I hope you had a good time, and I'll see you next time on Frank Puzzles. Take care.